life and with her practice. Of course, that would ultimately be up to the State Bar of Texas. But the prosecutors get someone who's in that inner circle. She gets out with very lenient sentence, and I think this is an indication of even more co-defendants likely to see what can they, how can they get out from under this case.
You just underlined something I want to also underline, which is, I saw this, Timmy. I was like, this is a sweet deal. Now, I don't really, I'm a bleeding heart liberal. I don't care if, Sidney Powell goes to prison. I think we put too many people behind bars in this country, whatever. It doesn't really matter to me. But cooperation matters. And what has just been put out as an incentive, this is plead guilty to 6 misdemeanor counts of election interference, a $6,000 fine and $2,700 in restitution. Write an apology letter to citizens of Georgia. I'm anxious to read that. Testify in all proceedings, no communication with co-defendants. I mean, the choice between what you see on your screen and a 7-figure defense bill, maybe somewhere in that neighborhood, and maybe prison time, like that seems a no-brainer.
Yeah, I think it definitely is a no-brainer. But I think what's really interesting about Sidney Powell is that she's really not a low-level person in the grand scheme of the Jan 6 story and the former president.
No.
And I think that's what's making her pleading guilty and so early. If you recall, she sought a speedy trial. Right? So it was her decision to be facing down trial next week. And I think what's going to be really critical here is that so early in the case, Fani Willis has now cracked the Trump inner circle. She now has someone who spoke with the former president directly. She has someone who can get on the stand and testify as to what the former president said. And what's going to be really critical, I think, for this broader story is that, as you noted, December 18th, Sidney Powell was at the White House with the president. And that next morning, after this, this meeting that burst out into argument because the White House lawyers want the so-called crazies out, the former president tweets out his "Be There, Will Be Wild" tweet. After this meeting with Sidney Powell, what does he do? He gets on Twitter and he calls millions of people, all his followers, to come to D.C. because he wants it to be wild. And she's going to be able to offer insight as to what was he thinking, what did he say in that meeting, what was their state of mind as to how to overturn the election, and how that played in with the rally on the 6th.
Yeah, the Washington Post